Da. What's up, Dakota?
What's going
How are
on?
you, man? We finally did this.
I know. Finally, we've been talking about it.
I feel super connected to you, man, because all day I've been listening to you on Jacko's podcast. And first of all, anybody who really wants to know you in depth in your element, talking with a fellow warrior, I strongly recommend that podcast. Yeah. For people who don't, what number is it? Do you know which number?
I don't know what number it is.
I was just listening to it. It's Jacko Podcast 115, Into the Fire and Beyond the Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And Jacko is a fucking beast, and you two together talking about the incidents that happen with you overseas, it's insane. I mean, it is like I had to call a buddy of mine. I had to stop the podcast and call my friend Brendan just to talk to him.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so intense. It's like I was driving, I was getting nervous, right? You know, I'm driving in my fucking my Tesla, right? My little electric car. I'm driving, my hands are sweating, and I'm breathing heavy. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, if you hear all those, like, you know, when you're listening to that podcast, that was by far the most. I mean, Jacko just pulled it out of me, like, right? Like, you know, most everybody hits like the high points of it, but you know, me and Jacko just made that connection. It was the first time we'd ever met, and
really?
Face to face. Yeah, we just went, like, you know, he actually picked me up from the airport, and we went there and we sat down and did the podcast, and I don't know, I think he knew the questions to ask, because I think it was good for both of us, because you know, if you got to the point kind of in the middle of it, if you start hearing those silences, it was both of us trying to keep from tears falling, right? Like, it was like that moment you're trying to, it just, you know, we really connected, and it was, you know, it was a tough podcast.
Well, you could tell, because for Jacko, I mean, I listen to a lot of Jacko's podcasts, but that was one where he was really in his element. First of all, it's very obvious he has a deep respect for you and who you are and what you stand for. And then two, it brought him back to his own experiences in war. And so the whole thing is just, it's one of the most intense podcasts I've ever listened to, if not the most intense.
Wow.
It's fucking heavy, man.
Yeah, it was heavy. It was a hard one. You know, he, like you said, I think Jacko was getting as much out of it as I was, right? And I have the utmost respect for Jacko. The guy is just, you know, he's the epitome of a warrior all around, you know, like from day in and day out. I mean, he wakes up every day and lives the things that he says. I mean, you know, he does what he says, and he lives it, and he puts people first, and he's just, I mean, he's one of the greatest guys I've ever met. And
I agree. I couldn't have said it better. And Tim Kennedy as well. You know, we're both friends with Tim, and that the same thing. That kind of, it's a rare human being.
It
both
is.
Of those guys.
It is, you know, and I think that's what, like, you know, that's what I'm so fortunate about. Is like I'm surrounded by just people like that, right? Like, you know, I'm so fortunate to have a circle like that. You know, I think that's what makes us who we are. You know, I mean, that's the epitome is iron sharpens iron, and when you're surrounded by guys like Jacko and Tim Kennedy and I mean, well, you have no option. But even if you're last in that group, like you're still above average, you know?
Well, there's a cliche, you know, that comes up when people talk about military, you know, that, you know, people will say things, and sometimes it's hard to understand whether or not they grasp exactly what they're saying, but that people make sacrifices so that you could be free. And I don't think people it's hard to truly internalize that without having experienced what you've experienced, what Jacko and Tim Kennedy have experienced. When I'm listening to it, I know that it's correct. I know that it's true. I support it 100%, but it's almost like an alien thing to me because I've never experienced it. So when hearing you guys talk about it and climbing inside your head for a bit and listen to you describe it, that cliche, the land of the free because of the brave, it gets highlighted where you understand, like, this is why America's not like it is in other places, because of this strong military. And one of the things you guys talked about in that podcast was this idea of us invading Afghanistan. You were fighting alongside Afghanis.
Absolutely.
And most people who talk about war will have this peripheral, sort of cursory understanding about what they would like the world to be like. Mm-hmm. You know, that they would like no war, and that, oh, this is terrible, we shouldn't be over there. They don't truly understand what you understand.
You know, they don't. And I think, you know, the perspective that I get to come back, and I think all these guys telling their stories, you know, from Rob O'Neill to Marcus Luttrell, like, I think every warrior out there has to tell their story to make people understand, right? Like it's so important for that because we've got a perspective of the world that a lot of people don't get.
Yes.
And you know, I mean, I stood next to people that we couldn't, like you talk about not believing, not being raised, not coming from the same place, not having, you know, we could have found every reason not to be on the same ground, but we stood next to each other and were willing to die for each other. We chose to find the common denominator. And that was because there's only two types of people in this world. There's good and evil.
Yes.
Like that, it really comes down to that. Like war is so simple. Life is so simple. When you try to complicate it, there's other reasons. And it's like this whole thing, we were all over there fighting for this, for the belief to be free, this belief of democracy, this belief of what we all live for. And it's, you can't see it, but we live it every day, and we were willing to give our lives for people we didn't even know, people we didn't even meet.
One of the things you talked about with Jacko, you said you didn't just lose 4 brothers that day. You lost 10 because you lost 6 Afghani brothers as well.
Yeah, the Afghans were as close to me as the Marines were. You know, my team of Afghan soldiers, you know, I lived on a base. It was 4 U.S. and 80 Afghans. And every day I went out on patrol, and I'm patrolling with them, and they're no different than me and you. You know, they just want a place. I'll never forget that really hit home to me is I had an Afghan. We were sitting up on the mountain. Actually, the cover of my book, it was that day. We were sitting on that mountain because we had chased some Taliban up that hill, and we were sitting up there. And this Afghan looked at me and he just said, "I hope that someday you can bring your family here on vacation. I hope that we can get it to that point."
Wow.
And it really hit home to me. It's like, you know, we're all just alike. You know, we're all just alike. We all just want to live a great life, and we all just want to get along. I mean, if you don't get along, it's because you choose not to get along.
For people who don't understand the conflict in Afghanistan, explain what is happening and why we're over there. Yeah,
so, you know, basically Afghanistan, and it was the same thing in Iraq too. I mean, you know, that's where these terrorist organizations were, right? And, you know, we're over there fighting alongside Afghanistan. We're over there fighting alongside Iraq. We're not fighting Iraq and fighting Afghanistan. We're fighting alongside both of those countries and trying to rebuild it up and trying to get rid of these terrorist cells that are inside those countries. You know, like you said, I mean, everybody thinks that, you know, we're fighting Iraq and we're fighting Afghanistan, and it's not the case. We're alongside them, helping them rebuild their countries.
You know, when you go to Black Rifle Coffee in Salt Lake, you know, those guys are awesome.
Awesome.
They brought a bunch of former Afghani troops over, and they work for them over there. Like a lot of the guys working in the factory.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, I got, like, these guys are so close to these people. They brought them back and gave them jobs in America.
Absolutely.
You know, and this is, I just think most people don't really have a full picture of what's at stake and why it's even happening. They just don't want war, right?
They just don't want war, but it's like, you know, I mean, there's no way. I mean, you can go in your house and lock your doors and sit there and try to pretend that the evil that we fight doesn't exist, but it exists. It exists. It's there. It's there. And if we don't go fight it over there, it's going to come here.
That's another cliche that, like, seems alien to people. You know, it's a true statement. It's always been true throughout human history. But when you live in a country like America, we're so fortunate. It's so awesome here. Even when it sucks, it's awesome. In comparison to the rest of the world, you know, it's very rare that you have a place where you really can start at the bottom and make your way up to be a successful person.
I mean, literally, you can start here and come from nothing, and within your generation, be the president of the United States. You could literally start from that, and it's the only country on the face of the planet. And I tell people all the time, like, you know, just because, you know, we get so caught up, like right now is like an emotional time for America, right? It's getting ready to, I call it the draining time, you know, from now until, you know, November, you know, until the election time, it's going to be draining, right? And everybody's getting so emotional and fired up, and it's like, you know, like it's going to be whatever. But the cool part is that this country, like from all of us in the military, from all our first responders, our police officers, you know, we're the only country on the face of the planet that doesn't swear allegiance to a person. We swear allegiance to a document, to a piece of paper. And that's what allows us to be us. That's what allows us to not have one person come in and be able to change up this idea that we have of democracy, of freedom. And that's something that's just it's incredible. That's what keeps our country the way it is, right? Like there's not, the people will always be in charge here. And you know what? Most of America, 99% of America is incredible. And you know what? They're stopping and they're helping people. And it's just the loud ones that make us make it look like it's all chaotic.
Well, people love to point out the horrible aspects and they love to ignore the good aspects. They love to dwell on the bad parts. And I think ultimately that's going to prove to be good for everybody, because those people that are highlighting all these bad things, then everybody else has to think about it and will slowly but surely evolve and come to an understanding and make the world a better place. It's a way better place now than it was 100 years ago or 200 years ago. And I think this is Steven Pinker talks about this all the time in his books, and is criticized for it because a lot of people don't like the idea that things are getting better. Mm-hmm. They want to dwell on the negative aspects 100%. And they want to magnify those and make it the most important focal point. I think the most important focal point, if we want to have a good world, is concentrate on the good aspects and how amazing it really is that we have this incredible ability to express ourselves, this incredible ability to prosper, to move. And I mean, people don't get the same share or the same stake in life. A lot of people get a terrible opening hand of cards. Yeah. But you can improve. And this is one of the rare places in the world where you can, if you're so inclined, if you have the discipline, if you can figure it out emotionally, if you could figure it out in terms of like what you want to do in your life, you can live a healthy and successful life in this country. It's possible.
It's 100%. Like nobody's holding you down, right? Like you have the choice to be able to do that. You have the choice to go out. Every opportunity is here. Like there's no other country that has more opportunities than the United States of America. Especially, for anybody. And I agree with you. I think that society has gotten into this place of where we're trying to out-victimize each other. Like, who can be the bigger victim? Who's had it harder? Yeah. And it's the thing that I also believe is that with technology and all this is the empathy, like suffering has become normal for people. Right? Like it's became entertainment. Like look at reality TV, like people's messed up lives. Mm-hmm. That's entertainment for people now. Right. Video games of, and I talk about this all the time about war, right? We came back and war has now been romanticized. It's been romanticized that it's this cool image of like, I hear people say, yeah, I just want to go kick indoors and shoot people in the face. And it's like, well, you've probably never done it then. And it's like we've got our kids playing video games of the stuff that keeps me awake at night. And it's like, at what point do we start humanizing these things?
When you see one of those crazy video games, those first-person shooters mm-hmm. involving war, does that bring back memories? I mean, does it irritate you? I think that what's not put out there is. I hear kids talking about, hey, did you use this or did you use this or did, you hear people say, well, did you kill somebody, right? And it's like kids. And I don't think that's, to me that bothers me because there's nothing cool about taking another human's life. And when you're playing video games and it's like, oh, I got, this many kills, like these kids are just watching this screen over and over. And the more graphic it gets, the less desensitized that we have to another human being suffering. Right. The more desensitized.
Desensitized, right? Like the more desensitized, and then you start, the more the movies go, and the more. I think that like we've pushed ourselves away from being empathetic to, hey, these are real people. These are real people's lives. Like, what if they, we've stopped looking at people and saying, this is someone's child. Yes. This is someone's mother. Right. This is someone's son. Like we've gotten away from that, and like the old art that I was always told to live by is treat someone as you would want to be treated yourself. And if you were in those shoes, and every time I pass somebody, every time I see somebody suffering, I always look at that and be like, well, what would I want somebody to do if they see my daughter suffering? or my son suffering, right? I mean, look at all these times that I see these people holding their video cameras up and they're videoing somebody like getting just beat. And it's like, why? How do you do that and not help? How does that not just suck everything out of you to not want to do something?
Yeah, there's a thing called diffusion of responsibility that happens to people in crowds, unfortunately. And there's also the same thing that I think when you're filming something that's happening in real life is the same thing that you've seen in these video games and on television shows. I mean, we have never had more violence in film form and in video game form ever. But yet we've never had less violence. Like, how many people who play these games and have seen people get shot over and over and over and over again have never seen a body, never seen anybody get severely wounded or shot.
Yeah.
And so to them, getting shot and shooting people is always, it's almost like empty. Mm-hmm. It's like bang, bang, bang. There's the guy. He comes out of the bushes. Bang, bang, bang. You shoot him. Here comes this guy. Bang, bang, bang. You shoot him. And it doesn't feel like anything. And then you shut it off and you have a sandwich. Then you turn it on again. You do it again.
Yep.
So you're experiencing this thing that's empty. It's like you're pretending to drink water, but there's nothing in the glass. You just keep doing it over and over again. And then you get some real water and you're like, oh, this is different.
Yeah. This is different.
And that's not even a good, that's a terrible analogy, but the analogy of numbing, that people are numb to this fake violence and have no experience with the real stuff. So they think of the real stuff the same way they think of the fake stuff.
They do. And then and sometimes when they see it, they still are numb. They still can't act, right? Like they still don't. It's kind of like imagine, the way I look at it is, you look at all these simulators, like flight simulators. Like, I mean, there's all this virtual reality, right? Of that people are using this for actually training. And so, like, you don't think that it's the same way when you're doing this. And then you got games that come out like Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
Like, where you're just running around and you're
shooting hookers, running people over.
And running, like, like, how is anything positive come from that?
Right. How is anything positive? Yeah. It's, we're a weird culture. And then
we're weird.
You could see all the violence you want. Like, I watched John Wick 3 last night. I finally finished it. Jesus Christ. 3/4 of the way through, I'm like, how many fucking people have they killed? This is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just a murder fest. It's murder porn. That's what it's like.
Murder porn.
Isn't it? Kind of?
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, like, that kind of violence is unheard of. Mm-hmm. But yet, you don't show sex. Like, you could show people's brains exploding, but if you showed a girl's pussy and a penis going inside of it, people would, get that off the air. The one thing that doesn't hurt anybody that everybody wants.
Yeah.
That would be horrific to show. Like, if you had a film with, Brad Pitt and, give me a hot woman actress, Jamie, hot women actresses. Who's the one? Scarlett Johansson. Okay. Scarlett Johansson and Brad Pitt have a sex scene, and they actually fucking get after it.
Yeah.
And you see it, and you see her feet up in the air, and you see him. You'd be like, what are we watching?
Oh, yeah.
This is crazy. But yet, you could see Brad Pitt, spoiler alert, if you see that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is that the name of it? The Quentin Tarantino? He beats a woman to death, smashing her face against a mantle of a fucking fireplace. And you're like, holy fuck.
And that's okay. That's okay.
But just fucking dash. Yeah. And you're like, whoa, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
But if you fuck Scarlett Johansson, you saw her asshole, you'd be like, what? I see her actual asshole. This is crazy. Get this up. You should go to jail. It's weird.
Yeah.
Things that everybody wants to do. Like, we all want sex. Everybody likes sex.
But
nobody likes beating someone to death with their fucking head off a mantle. I mean, that's a daughter too. That's somebody's daughter. Fucking, we're weird, bro. We're so weird.
We are weird. Yeah, when you look at it like that.
So weird.
We are so weird.
Do you know how outrageous it would be if Scarlett Johansson and Brad Pitt had an actual sex scene in a movie? If they just fucked, they said, listen, I like her, she likes me. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And she was like, let's do it. Fuck it. I'm ready to method act. That actually happened in a movie called Brown Bunny. It was a long time ago. There was a movie with Vincent Gallo. And there was an actress, her name is Chloe, I forget how you say her name, Svenji. How do you say it? I don't know. Svenji. She's a really good actress. And he's a really good actor. And for whatever reason, they decided to do a sex scene where she gives him a real blowjob.
Yeah.
And everybody who saw it in the theater was angry. All these critics were angry. They're like, this is fucking outrageous. This is terrible. And it really killed his career. I mean, it killed her career a little bit too, I think. Definitely derailed it, but it fucking killed his career.
Yeah.
Everybody thought he's a creep after that. It's weird.
A creep
It's weird.
A creep for something that everybody's done.
Right.
But
meanwhile, everybody loves Keanu Reeves. And he's like, dak, 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 dak. He's shooting people in the neck and the asshole and the face and the eyeballs in the mouth. He's cutting them up and stabbing them and throwing them off motorcycles. Like, fuck.
Well, that's okay, though.
That's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. But Vincent Gallo actually getting a legitimate blowjob. That's outrageous. That guy should be pulled out of Hollywood forever.
Done. He's terrible.
Who wants a blowjob?
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, we get freaked out about watching people do something that everybody wants to do.
It's insane.
Very weird. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. It's super weird.
Oh, that's funny.
What do you got, Jamie?
He produced, edited, directed cinematography of the video.
Yeah, it was his idea to get his dick sucked.
He made the whole thing.
I know. He did make the whole thing.
Like a self-produced sex tape.
Try getting somebody else to do it. Try getting somebody like, hey, in this scene, how about she actually sucks my dick for real? Oh, Vincent. No, really.
No, for
Let's do this.
No, for real.
Everybody would be like, get the fuck out of here. He probably had to film it and not let anybody know what was happening until after it was over. The crazy thing is he talked her into it. You imagine she'd be like, wait, what the fuck did you just say? But he talked her into it and she went with it. But that would be fine. But, there's a scene in Apocalypse Now where there's a water buffalo and they killed the water buffalo with a machete. Mm. They used a real water buffalo and a real machete. They really killed the water buffalo for that scene.
And people went nuts, I bet.
They went nuts. Oh, and they go nuts now. When people find out about it now, they freak out.
Yeah, I wouldn't even post anything on my Instagram of hunting because PETA would just people just tell you oh, we should hunt you. We should shoot you with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep. Yeah.
But they can go watch people get killed.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
No problem.
Yeah, I very rarely post things. I posted the first elk I ever shot with a bow. I posted a picture of that because it's hard work, man. It was hard for me to do. I was proud of it.
Yeah.
It was difficult, and I was going to eat that elk for a year, and I did eat it. And to me, that meant a lot to me. Like, this is how I'm getting my meat now. This is my nutrition. I'm going to feed my family with this. But, yeah, the comments are just ridiculous.
They're ridiculous, right?
They just go crazy. But, hey, that's their trip.
It's just part of it.
Yeah, their trip is save the animals. Everybody's got their own. It's interesting. Like the own thing that gives them a sense of purpose, that makes them feel like they're doing something that makes a difference and makes a change.
That matters.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, it's that. Like, stop eating eggs.
Yeah, right. Stop eating eggs.
Okay. Good luck with that. My favorite is when they're rabid, fucking vicious, nasty vegans, and then 8 years later they give up. They start eating fish, and the next thing you know, they get hard-ons again, and it's it doesn't last. It's so fucking hard to just eat only plants. It's not the healthiest move for most people. I mean, everybody varies biologically, but for most people, it's not the healthiest move.
But you gotta give respect. I mean, a vegan that's discipline.
Yes.
That's discipline.
100%. I've friends that are vegan. My friend John Joseph, he's legit as fuck, and he's been plant-based for more than 20 years. I think more than that, right? 30 maybe even. Maybe 30 years. He's an animal. But for him, it's part of his discipline that helped him clean up. He was addicted to drugs. It helped him. He's done 10 Ironmans. Then a bunch of half Ironmans as well. So it's part of who he is as a man, like his discipline, and part of his discipline applies to his diet.
Yeah, being a vegan, that's something I couldn't do.
You could do it.
No,
I'm sure you could. You don't want to do it.
The way
you've done, you could probably do anything that people can do.
The way I justify it is I'm vegetarian through secondhand source.
Right, you're eating vegetarians.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's just do a secondhand source.
Yeah. I don't think they count that.
It doesn't?
No, I don't think so. I don't know, man. It's one of those things where
even when I drink, it's from corn, right? So
Anthony Bourdain used to get really angry about this. And one of the things that he said was, this is a first world problem. He's like, we are so fortunate that we have this problem. And in other countries, they're just trying to get enough protein to feed their family. They're just trying to get enough food to feed people. And he was it wasn't like he was indifferent to animals, but he was deeply concerned about people and about, because of all of his traveling, he had like a great deal of empathy for all these different people and these different cultures and their cuisine. And he had a tremendous amount of respect for it. Like he would talk about it like it was religious to him almost,
Yeah. Like, when we would go into villages and eat, I mean, if they had meat, like that was a big deal. Like if they brought meat out to you, then that was a huge deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it and it's just like, gosh, we're over here complaining about stuff that most countries wish they had those problems. Like
Right.
90% of the stuff we're complaining about, most countries wish they had those problems, right?
But I get it. The people don't want those problems to exist too. They want those problems to go away. They want a utopia. And the only way to build towards a utopia is to improve upon the problems that we have. And we do have problems across the board. But I would just love some perspective from people. I would just love some, and I think that would go a long way to help people have more happiness.
Well, how do you wake up when all you do is focus on problems, right? Like it's kind of like when you're working or you're at a job, right, or you own a company. Like you're always just fixing. I call it putting out fires.
Yeah.
And if that's all you do is constantly put out fires, like at what point do you become grateful? Like at what point of the day do people stop and look around?
Right.
And they're grateful for what they have, and they're appreciative of. I had a guy tell me, when I was going through my divorce, I mean, I was a train wreck. Just call Tim Kennedy, and he'll tell you. I'll never forget a guy set me down. And I was talking about all these problems and just nitpicking and fighting over the small stuff, and I mean, literally just. Well, she worded it this way and she needs to do it this way. Like literally just every little thing. And a guy finally sit me down and he looked at me and he goes, "Look, Dakota," he said, "if you can make choices or decisions to change it, then it's not a problem. It's an inconvenience. The day that you can't make a choice, you got cancer, your kid's sick or something like that," he goes, "that's the day you got problems. Until then, you just got inconveniences."
That's a great way to look at it.
Until then, you just got inconveniences. And I was like, you're right.
It's a great way to look at it because there's levels of problems, right? There's insurmountable problems, cancer, injuries, things of that nature, car accidents, insurmountable.
And you know what?
Yeah.
And the thing is, and I think I think I'm so fortunate to have gone through the experiences that I have, because each one of them it's all perspective. It changes my perspective on the way I look at things. It changes the things that are important to me. I always call it. Everybody's got their lens of life, and that lens of life, your lens of life looks different than mine. Mine looks different than yours, and we all have our own lens of life. And at the point, we get so focused and get into autopilot, and it'll focus on, it's kind of like your camera, you pull it up and you got it on autofocus. It never focuses on what you want it focused on, right? Until you go back to the manual focus and you push where it's at. And I feel like all these problems that we have are just made to, hey, we need to tighten our lens back up to focus on what really, really, really matters.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes people need to hear it from someone like you, or someone like Jacko, or, the beautiful thing about these podcasts is that you get to hear people's perspective, and a lot of them are eye-opening. They literally can change the world because they change the way you behave and you interact with people when you listen to it.
Yeah. And
that podcast that you did with Jacko, when I was listening to it, it changed my whole day. It changed like how I was going to look at my day. I was, instead of like looking at my day like, oh, it's a normal day, I was thinking, God damn, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
God damn, I'm lucky. And God damn, imagine experiencing what you, and how old were you at the time?
I was 21.
21 years old.
Yeah.
And experiencing what you experienced in that insane firefight, being locked down. And how many guys did you wind up engaging with?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, everyone that I got an opportunity with, right? And it just, it was just it was so chaotic. I mean, I think about it all the time, obviously. It's something I could have never experienced. I mean, I trained for war every single day when I was in the Marine Corps. I mean, it was what my job was, and I still could have never imagined that day the way it was or anything to turn out. I could have never pictured it. I could have never. And I think every day it goes by, I think there's a reckoning of it, right? The way that I seen it that day is not the way I see it today. And I think that comes with, just sharpening and just your body, you change and you see different things in perspective. But yeah, I mean, I that day, I mean, it still is just, it's just, there's so many lessons that come from that day that I look at people complaining about stuff here in America, and it's like, I seen him one day, the best of humans, the worst of humans, and nobody thought they were wrong. And it's possible, it's just one of those deals of that day was just.
That's an important point what you just said. Nobody thought they were wrong. Not them, not you.
Yeah, and it changed me that day. Like, I walked in there that day, and I was the guy who was cocky, who would tell you, I loved fighting. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just want to go fight. Like, but every fight I had before that, it was like, I always had airplanes sitting, or helicopters sitting around. I always had, it was like, I'm going to go in there and start the fight, and then I'm going to call in all this other stuff to win, right? And that day it wasn't there, and literally I walked out of there, and I just think about all the time today. I just think about all the time of how many generations just that day were changed. How many generations of people's lives were changed. All my teammates died, so they'll never have kids. That generation stopped. Their families forever so many lives were changed that day by that piece. And guess what? And everybody in America had no clue what was going on. Like, right now, there are U.S. troops. Somebody wondering if they're going to be able to come home and see their family again. That's reality. Whether you want to ignore it or not, like, that's reality. And that was me, September 8, 2009. And it was just it was a chaotic day.
It's amazing how you could have thousands of days in your life, and one day changes the way you look at everything.
One day changes the way you look at everything. And, and like the further I go on, I look at it different. I always talk about this story of, whenever this guy came up behind me, and I ended up killing him with a rock. And I always remember I see it every night. Like, I remember, like, I just see his face. And like, because there was a point that I feel like that anybody that, whether they're injured or anything, like, they realize they're defeated. I don't know. I just think there's a point when you look at somebody and they know they're going to die. And I'll never forget that. And now I look at it and I see it, and I always think that, like, this guy is a son to somebody. His mother and father are going to miss him. This guy, he believes in his cause as much as I do. He doesn't believe he's wrong. This guy, he could have had a wife or kids that are never going to see their father again. Just like, my dad might have never seen me again if it was switched. And really, I don't hate him. I don't even know this guy. We're just here at this place right now because we were born in two different countries.
Were you out of weapons? Were you out of ammo?
He had came up and he started choking me. I had shot him once before, and I was trying to pick my buddy Dada Lee. My one of my closest Afghans, Dada Lee, had been shot. He had been killed, and I came around this terrace to get him, and I was on my knee, and this guy came up behind me, and
so he didn't have a weapon either.
No, he did. He had a weapon, and I ended up shooting him from the ground, and I thought he was dead when he fell on the ground, and I kind of moved down and got down with Dada Lee because I was still getting shot at from this machine gun up on this hill, and I was trying to make myself small as I could, and this guy ends up coming up and choking me. Like, I thought he was dead, and he ends up choking me out. He starts trying to choke me out, and eventually let up a little bit, and I ended up getting around him, and we were fighting back and forth, and I can remember all I was thinking about was, like, don't let his legs get on me. Like, these guys, their legs they've been crawling up mountains their whole life, and he was a pretty big dude, and I just remember getting on top of him. Finally got on top of him, and I was rolling on top of him. He didn't have all the gear on I did, and I remember getting on top of him like straddling him, and I'm just reaching up trying to grab for anything I can, and I'm holding him and holding him down with my throat, with my forearm, and I'm just grabbing anything I can, and finally I ended up grabbing a rock, and I just started beating this dude's face in, and I just started beating, and I remember just like finally, like after hitting him, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, 4 or 5 times, whatever, I remember him like finally just kind of looking at me and like just it's like he's like I'm just looking him in the eyes, like obviously closer than me to you right now, and you just see you can tell like he knows where this is going. And I always think about that, obviously I would kill him a million times over again, right? He was the enemy. Like, I don't feel bad about that part of it, but I just think about like in that moment, if I can find a way to relate to him in that moment, a man I'm taking his life, we all in America can find a way to connect with each other. If we don't connect with each other, it's because we choose not to. I don't care what your differences are. Like, find a reason of why we can get along, not why we should not get along.
Right.
And I always think about that moment, of this guy, and, he obviously ended up dying. And what it showed me is that no cause that you have that's built on hate will survive. I didn't hate this guy. I didn't even know him. But I was willing to take his life because of what I loved. And that's what we have to build our lives and our foundation on, is not being angry and hating each other, but because we love the cause that we believe in so much. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I understand what you're saying. The way they look at it in Afghanistan, is it Al-Qaeda or the Taliban?
So Al-Qaeda's mainly Al-Qaeda was in Iraq.
Al-Qaeda is the issue that's in Iraq, and the Taliban is the issue that's in Afghanistan.
In Afghanistan.
And the Taliban, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to run a religious caliphate?
Yeah. I mean, they just want they want to run it the way that they want to, right? Like they don't believe in women being educated. They don't believe in any like they don't believe in they go back to their beliefs of it's driven by religion, of all that control. They want the control.
And how much support do they have from the general population?
I mean, I think not necessarily the support, but because I think that it's not necessarily the support, it's the power that they have, right? Like they come in and they lead with a heavy hand, right? I mean, there's the locals run the place, but the Taliban is kind of like, look at it like a gang, right? Like kind of like a mob or like the Taliban is kind of like the cartel, right? And so that's where they come from, and they try to lead with violence, and same thing that you would see with the cartel. The Taliban's kind of like a big cartel.
And so the population, they would like that to not be the case. And
yeah, I mean,
they want a system of democracy similar to what we have.
I mean, I don't know that they want that, but I don't think something better
than what they have.
Of course, like I think they all see that they live in shitholes, right? They all see, I think that they know what could get, how it could be better and how life could be better,
Yeah.
The cool thing about America is that we know what freedom is. And I promise you this, like, you want to have all the differences stop. If anybody ever invaded us, I mean, people don't want to give anything up. So they would all start fighting. Everybody would get on the same page and start fighting if anybody tried to come to America, because nobody would want to give up their stuff.
Well, post 9/11. Do you remember that? What that was? You were a younger guy at the time. How old were you at 9/11?
I was in the 8th grade, and I always say I would never wish for another 9/11, but I would give anything for a 9/12. I would give anything for a 9/12.
It was crazy. Like, people were friendly. People were letting people in traffic. People had, like, American flags were everywhere.
Everywhere. People were proud of America. Like, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy, like how in sync everybody was.
It's hard for people who weren't there on those days to understand the mood of the country. It was a different world. Like, people were patriotic. Like, everybody was.
I don't necessarily remember what it was like before the day of 9/11, so I don't have much perspective on that. But I do remember 9/12. I remember I mean, everybody was proud to be Americans. Everybody was proud of our country and who we are.
It was like a switch had turned.
It was. And isn't that the way it goes, though? Like, when something tragic happens, like, isn't that the way it goes? Like we refocus on what really matters. Like, all these differences go away.
Yeah.
But we come back to what matters.
Well, that's something that a lot of people who experience war have said, that this is where they felt the most connected, because their life was literally in danger, and because they had lost loved ones to this thing. They had lost brothers to this thing, that this was real, and that to this day, that is the most exciting and happiest time of their life, because they were so connected. Sebastian Junger wrote about this in a movie, book, Tribe. Yeah. Have you read it?
I haven't read it.
It's very good, and it probably would speak to a lot of the exact same things that you say.
But, like, I find the same thing, not the same thing, obviously, because my life's not in danger, and I hope that I never have to go a day where my life's in danger again. And I find the same appreciation back here in a country that I love. I can, I narrowed it down because I had to come up with a reason of, like, why, it's hard to sit here and watch the valleys that you fought for and then the government go and give those valleys back to the Taliban. There's this one video me and my buddy were laughing about the other day, a base that he had been on, and he shows me this video, and it's like literally the treadmills that were in the gym there. It's a Taliban guy running on our treadmills, right? Like, they had left it there, and we're just like,
whoa,
and I always think about, because if you get down in the weeds of it and you start really you'll get upset about, that valley. Did I really, did my teammates' sacrifice really change your life? Like, if they hadn't sacrificed that day, would your life be changed? Like, because that's what we're fighting for, is America. And so I always looked at it like this, and I came to peace with it of, all we were trying to do anywhere we went when I served and I wore the nation's cloth. Like, I got the best opportunity. When people thank me for my service, I'm like, don't thank me. Like, I appreciate you letting me represent America, be the away team for the United States of America. Like, I got to wear the nation's cloth in so many countries. But I justify it as all we tried to do, no matter whether we were passing out soccer balls to kids, or we were going in and providing security for a well, or we were taking out an enemy combatant, all we were trying to do was make that part of the world that we were in a better place. That's all we were trying to do. We're trying to leave it better than we found it that moment. And if we take that same concept and we apply it here, and we all go over and do it for the person on the left and the right of us, and if we use that same concept, you can apply it here in America every day. Every single day, you can make this world just a little bit better.
There's a lot of people in this country that don't think we should be nation building in other countries, and including people like Tulsi Gabbard, who served. But then you got people like Dan Crenshaw, who I've had on the podcast, who his perspective is, you have to go over there. Like, you can't allow these groups to get more powerful and gain more control. You just can't.
You can't. And if not us, then who? And the thing is America's a beacon of hope across the world. America's a beacon of hope. And you can notice when America's strong, everybody hates us. When America's weak, the world suffers. And I'm not saying we need to go in and fight everybody's battle, obviously, right? Like, but on the backside of it, we're not necessarily going in and fighting for other countries, but we do have an obligation to go and help people. Like, you take Syria, when they are gassing kids and women. If nobody else is going to go send rockets in there, if nobody else is going to go hold somebody accountable for it, there's nobody that's serving, that's wearing the uniform, that's not gladly doing that and going to go hold them accountable for it. It has nothing to do with anything other than good and evil. And if we don't go fight the evil, then who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? And we don't want the evil to get bigger. You don't want the evil to get bigger. You don't want the evil to progress, and you don't want the evil to to think that they can, I mean, imagine, you see what they're doing right now, and I think the world knows that America will come and show up. And you see how they're still going. Imagine if they didn't have to worry about us doing it. Imagine what they would look like. You know.
Well, I think you can imagine better than most. That's part of the problem is that, you know, when you're in Calabasas, you know, going to the mall, you know, getting yourself a fucking smoothie, it doesn't seem real, you know, and you can have all these opinions about what we should be doing, you know, and that we need to stop these warmongers, we need to stop this and stop that. And I've had those opinions myself in the past and gone back and forth. And the only thing that's changed my mind is I listen to people that actually know.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the most important things you could ever do. And don't try to form an opinion if you don't really have any facts and any real understanding. And I've done that in the past too. I've made those mistakes. But
I can tell you this, like, you know, you look at 9/11, thousands of people died, and none of them volunteered to give their country for their life that day, except obviously the first responders. You look since 9/11, besides a couple attacks that's been in America, but you look since 9/11, everybody that's given their life overseas has volunteered to do that. They volunteered to go fight the evil. And for us to go over there and do that and keep it off the country, to keep it out of our country, to keep it to where, you know, our kids and our families and our mothers and fathers and don't have to worry about this. I mean, obviously it could happen anywhere, but I can't think that us being over there and giving them a place to fight us has not helped this country keep from being attacked multiple times if we had not gone over there. That's
a hard pill for people to swallow, right? They don't want to think that. Because they want to think the reason why they would attack us is because we're over there.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, why did we get attacked on 9/11?
It's a good question.
You know, like these people hate us just because they hate us. Like it's not about, you know, there was that one worker that said that, oh, we should go over there and get them more jobs and more opportunities. No, these people don't care. Like these people they wake up every day and try to think of a way to kill us. Like there's no negotiating with these people. These people are evil. These people will do nasty things to human beings that no, you couldn't even imagine. You couldn't make a video game about. I mean, you look at some of this ISIS stuff of what they're doing. I mean, putting somebody in a cage and burning them. You want to be empathetic to that? Throwing people because of their sexual preference off the top, tying their hands and legs together and throwing them off the top of a building? These are the type of people this is the type of evil like that we're going after. And if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
Right.
Who's going to do it?
Do you think it's possible that this all could be resolved someday? That maybe if it's not our children, our children's children? Do you think it's possible?
Nope.
Everybody says that. That's one of the most disheartening things about any kind of conflict.
But I mean, if you look at any of the books that came before us, this is what you get. This is just part of at any point in time there's conflict going on. It'll never be resolved. It'll never be resolved. It will never be resolved. So it's like a maintenance program.
That's hard for people to swallow, right? Because people want to think that the reason why it'll never be resolved is because the military-industrial complex wants to keep us at war, and this is just a big money grab, and that's all they're trying to do. Is the reason why they have us over there is they're sending people over there to die so that they can make money. This is how people love to look at it.
I mean, everybody wants to. I think it's just because everybody wants to find a reason. You know, everybody wants a reason that they can touch, feel, and blame. Like they want something to blame.
Right.
And they, you know, there's nothing to blame except the people who are doing this. And it exists, and it's real, and these are real people. And you know what? We're just so lucky that we have an all-volunteer military with some of the greatest people that's ever walked the face of the planet who are willing to go do this, who are willing to do it on mining your behalf. I mean, how cool is that?
It's pretty wild when you think about it, right? Because it's a complete volunteer army.
Volunteer.
Complete volunteer military.
These people are willing to raise their right hand to a piece of paper, to an idea of democracy, go over, they put their whole life on hold, their wives sacrifice. I mean, you take military spouses, and they sacrifice, if not more than the people, than the veterans and the service members, and they're willing to go over and fight for mining your freedom. They've never met us, but they're willing to give their lives for it. Like, think about this. Like I challenge people who are listening to this. Like, can you name one thing right now that you're willing to give your life for? Like, think about that. What would you give your life for right now? Like somebody pulled a gun out. You know you're going to die. What would you give your life for? I mean, these people are willing to go do it on the idea of democracy, on the idea of me and you, on the idea of good. It's incredible.
It is incredible. When you signed up, how old were you?
17.
You were 17. Wow.
Had my 18th birthday in boot camp.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. So you can do that? I didn't know you. I thought you had to be 18.
No.
Wow.
I graduated high school at 17, and my dad signed for me.
Oh, someone can sign for you.
Yeah.
Wow. And did you have any other aspirations, or was that something that you knew you were going to do?
No, honestly, a Marine recruiter told me I'd never make it as a Marine. And so, like,
what?
Yeah, like I was just walking.
Boy, was he fucking wrong.
Yeah, well, like he told me, I was walking through my lunchroom. Like, I don't have any cool stories. Like, oh, I woke up and knew I was going to be a Marine. Like, I was walking through the lunchroom, and this Marine recruiter was there. I started asking him a lot of smart aleck questions, and just being a typical high school student. And he's like, look, you're wasting my time. You'd never make it as a Marine. And, look, I was up for the challenge, so I signed up that day.
So him saying that was what really stirred you?
Yeah, that was it.
Wow.
I didn't even really know what the Marine Corps was before that.
Really?
Yeah, it's terrible.
What did you think you were signing up for?
I just told him I wanted to go fight.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, holy smokes. But you think about that. Like, our whole life is built off decisions. Our decisions, our control. We are today where we deserve to be because we made the decisions up to this point.
Mm.
Like, and that's a hard pill to swallow too.
Yeah, it's variable, right? There's some things that are out of your control.
There are, but
a lot of it.
But a lot of it.
Yeah.
You can't control situations and circumstances, but you can control how you take it.
You can control your response.
You can control your response.
Growing up like that, I mean, you're growing up in combat. I mean, you're growing up at 18 years old. I mean, I was a fucking baby when I was 18.
Yeah.
You're growing up in combat.
I did, yeah. I guess if you look at it like that, yeah. Yeah.
And you are here now 10 years after what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And you said it still keeps you up.
Yeah, I mean, I wake up, a couple nights a month and just, an anxiety attack, throwing up. I was actually speaking last week. I was on the road. It's the first time, I'm always nervous. Like, if in the middle of the night my daughter gets scared or she comes down and gets in my bed, like, I'm always really like nervous about that because like I was so nervous about it because I was just, gosh, I never want them to see me in that state, right? And the other day we were on the road. I was speaking out in North Carolina, and she was we were in a hotel, so she was staying with me. And I don't know, I didn't feel good that night. So what I did is I put a pillow between us. And gosh, I had one. I knocked my tooth off. I knocked my veneer off. Like, it was so terrible. And she just looked at me. She's 3, and she just looked at me and she said, "It's okay, Daddy. You're not a bad dad."
Wow.
And
at 3.
At 3, and I was like, gosh, But yeah, I mean, you still, I mean, this is that's why you look at it and I see these people who play these video games and they get nothing from, like, there's no emotional attachment to it. And it's like, this stuff's real. Like, there's nobody who, I would go out on a limb and say there's nobody who sees this stuff and you don't come back and deal with it. Like, it's a normal process to being part of not normal situations.
What kind of resources are available to you when you do come back? Like, how do they treat people that are suffering from PTSD? And
well, you gotta be careful with it, right? Because I mean, the last track you want to get on is all the pharmaceutical drugs, right? Like the pills and stuff. And you'll get on that real quick. The VA is notorious for it. So, you know,
what do they try to give you?
I mean, Klonopin, Xanax. I've been on tons of blood pressure medicine. I mean, you go down the list, right? And I went down that road and it got me nowhere. But now, you know, like there's tons of nonprofits out there who are doing a lot of great stuff, trying to help out. You know, what's one thing that we found out, and actually studies are starting to show that this helps, is it's called a stellate ganglion block. It's called SGB. It's a stellate ganglion block, and you get a shot. It goes in your neck, and I'll tell you this: like when I got that shot, it instantly, before the needle came out of my neck, Dr. Sean Mulvaney is the guy that's putting all this together. When the needle came out of my neck, it instantly took me from being like my whole life was downtown New York City in rush hour traffic, 15 minutes late to a meeting that my life depended on, to instantly being driving down a quiet country road with nowhere to be.
Really?
Instantly.
What is it doing?
So basically what it does is this is how it was described to me. And you have like two systems. You have like your automatic nervous system, and then you have your manual, right? So your automatic is like your eyes blinking, breathing, things like that. Your manual is like, hey, I need to reach over here and grab this bottle of water. And what happens is this fight or flight gets stuck in your automated, there's no longer do you say, I recognize this as a threat, and now I go into fight or flight. So what it does is you've been in that so long that it gets put over into the automatic side. And so what this does is it's kind of like a restart. Like there's nothing that lasts long in it. It goes in and it basically, I think it gets on, it's called the sciatic nerve, and it basically gives you a restart. And it took away all my anxiety. I mean, it instantly just melted it away.
How long does it last?
So it comes down to, I mean, sometimes I get one a year, one every 6 months, but it just comes down to, do you go back and expose yourself to these chaotic situations, right? Like, do you go keep making bad decisions? But for me, I look at it as like it's a solution to I call it the flashbang of anxiety. So like it's that flashbang that gives you the moment, the separation, to where now I can make decisions that I don't feel like I'm out of control. Now I can make decisions to get things back together.
What is the actual chemical that they're using?
I don't know. I would have to look. He's got it.
An article about it.
That's crazy that it's so effective. Using stellate ganglion block to treat post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
Okay, make that a little bigger, Jamie. Post-traumatic stress disorder develops in response to being exposed to extreme stress. Okay, the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, has been known to play a part in PTSD. It's believed that extra nerves of the system sprout or grow after extreme trauma. Wow. Leading to elevated levels of norepinephrine, an adrenaline-like substance, which in turn overactivates the amygdala, the fear center of the brain. This chain of events results in PTSD symptoms that may persist for years. So a part of the sympathetic nervous system called the stellate ganglion, a collective of nerves in the neck, seems to control the activation of the amygdala. A recent innovation offers potential in rapidly treating symptoms of PTSD for a prolonged period of time. Placing an anesthetic agent on the stellate ganglion in an anesthetic procedure called the stellate ganglion block can relieve the symptoms of PTSD in as little as 30 minutes. And for you, it said just a few seconds.
Before the needle is out.
and lasts for years. The SGB reboots the sympathetic nervous system to its pre-trauma state, similar to a computer reboot in the brain. Norepinephrine levels are rapidly reduced, and the extra nerve growth is removed. Wow. SGB is an anesthetic procedure that has been performed since 1925 and is considered a low-risk pain procedure done under X-ray guidance. That's insane.
Yeah. They use so Dr. Sean Mulvaney is the guy. I've been to other doctors, and Dr. Mulvaney is the only guy I would go to who does it the way he's got the whole procedure set up. He was a Navy SEAL. He's a doctor, and he does it out of D.C. But nobody, most people hadn't heard of this.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, I went in and he called me the next day and he was like, "So how do you feel?" I said, "Man, I caught myself singing in the shower this morning." Like I caught myself singing in the shower.
What were you singing?
I can't remember, but I was like, man, I caught myself singing in the shower. Like I walked out there and to me, I got to a point at that point, like I got to a low point and there was nothing, like there's nothing in my life I can complain about. Like there's nothing this country has given me a life that I could have never dreamed to ever have. I have no problems, 0. And I just woke up every day and I was just like, I just don't want to wake up feeling like this. And so he's like, come do this. And I came out there and did it, and it changed my whole life.
That sounds infinitely better than therapy or talking through it or any of the other methods I've ever heard of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think all that matters. I think the therapy, like if you want to go do talk therapy, that's good. Like you should do that. But I always tell people who go do talk therapy, like go in there with a plan of where you want your life to be. Like it's like going to a nutrition coach or a workout coach and not giving them goals.
Right.
Don't go in there just to go in there. Like go in there with a plan. Hey, how and have them help you get to that plan. But this is instantly just like that.
That's incredible. Now, did they try to do that in conjunction with medication? Does it just a standalone thing?
Standalone thing.
Wow.
Standalone thing. The only thing I do to help mine and my anxiety is like it can get bad. Like I'm talking bad.
When you say that, like what happens? Like what's the process?
I usually feel it building up.
Over days?
Yeah, days. Like it's almost like it'll come and it just builds up, and then it's like you'll have like a little bit of an anxiety attack or whatever. You'll start feeling anxiety or anxious, and then that becomes your new baseline. And then it keeps building, and people don't recognize it. And for a long time, I used to drink a lot, and I didn't know what anxiety was. I mean, what do you mean? Like this is how I feel all the time.
Right.
And then, then what usually happens is at night, when I go to sleep, it'll rock me. I'll start throwing up. I'll be sweating. I'll be crying. I'll be in the floor.
Now, are you thinking things when this is happening, or is it just an overwhelming sense of anxiety, just all encompassing?
I don't know where it comes from. I mean, obviously I know where it comes from.
But are you thinking about war while this is happening?
No, I think it just in my subconscious, I think, obviously your brain is always trying to like when you're asleep, trying to file things and process things.
Right.
And I think that's what happens is like consciously, consciously it doesn't bother me to talk about it. Like I went back and I was in another gunfight 4 days later. And I mean, I was packing up all my teammates' stuff and getting ready to go back to fight again. And I got into another gunfight. And I think that, coming home, your brain's still trying to process all that stuff. And I think it happens to anybody. You don't have to go to war. You could be in a car wreck. I mean, you look at the October 1st shooting in Vegas, you can go through anything, right? Like whatever. I think that's what people are dealing with. And it's just, I think that's why you see so much anxiety across the world is because of all this desensitization consciously, and people are processing it subconsciously.
That makes sense. That really makes sense. That they're taking in all this information. They think it's not affecting them at all, but it really is.
It is, and I think that's why you see all these people feeling like their lives are out of control. And it's because consciously, like, we're not sitting here talking about it. Like, well, yeah, Yeah, I seen a car wreck the other day, or so-and-so died, or you know what I mean? And it's like they're not ever processing it consciously, but their body will like your body will. I always say you can either exercise your demons or they're going to exercise you.
That's a great way to put it. What do they recommend when you, I mean, do they check on you to see if you are having anxiety, or do you have to come to them and explain it?
Yeah, I mean, you go to them.
Does anybody get through it without anxiety?
I mean, I would worry about the people that got through it without it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, if you can go kill people and not
Right.
and get through it without nightmares or anything, but I think some people do. I mean, I think people just deal with it different ways.
Right.
But me, like I used to drink a lot, but I was doing it not because I was an alcoholic. I was doing it as I could regulate my drinking better than I could the effects of what medicine would do to me.
Now, do the Marines have a system that they check on you and make sure you're okay, or guide you into a specific type of treatment when they know there's something wrong?
Yeah. But the problem is for all these war fighters is like they don't want to go talk about it or tell the Marine Corps, because then they're you're or the military. I'll just say military wide. They look at you as, well, now this person can't operate. Everybody's too worried to talk about this because they're afraid of not being able to do their job, because they're afraid that somebody will look at them and say, oh, well, you got PTSD, so you don't need a gun. And it's like, most people that have PTSD are car wreck victims.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the biggest source of PTSD?
Yeah, you can Google it. See, the biggest source of PTSD is car wreck victims.
Wow. Well, there's probably a lot of those, right?
Tons of them.
Yeah. So when you do have an issue, how do you go from having an issue to getting treatment? What's the process?
Well, I mean, if you tell your command, I mean, there's all types of resources there. I mean,
but you have to speak out.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, right?
That's the problem, is nobody wants to talk out, because, if you start talking, then, how quick's your job going to be gone? I got out. I was out before, I was out so fast after all this happened. I was out, 7 or 8 months afterwards, and I didn't realize what was going on until I probably never started dealing with my PTSD until 2016. I thought this was just normal.
What made you change?
My daughter, Sailor. I can remember the day I was actually in the floor, like just having an anxiety attack like crazy. And I was like, I got to do something. I've got to do something, because my daughters, they deserve the best father possible. Like they had no choice in coming in this world. And, I might not want to deal with it and face it for myself, but they deserve for me to wake up every single day and give them the best father that they could possibly have, and that is my responsibility to them.
Is that when you first got this shot, this block?
So I ended up getting it in 2017. Yeah, 2017, I think, and I didn't know anything about it until. Once I found out about it, I did.
How did you find out about it?
Just another warrior that had gotten it, and it worked for them.
Wow.
And I also use 3 methods to maintain all of it. I use the Stellate Ganglion block, which is kind of, when it gets real bad, I'll go get that. That's like the whole reboot, right? For maintenance, I usually use, it's called an alpha stem, and so it goes on your earlobes.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And
people quit smoking with that, right?
I don't know about that. It's usually for pain, anxiety, depression. But I use an alpha stem, and it goes. I clip it on my ears, and I usually do it every day, and it melts it away as well. And then the last piece is, and this is not obviously in our community, it's probably not the popular side of it, is using a pen at night. Before I go to bed. Yeah.
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 Do you use CBD?
So it's the I think it's indica.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that pretty much eliminated all my drinking.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that not popular?
I don't know. I think it's kind of like still like the taboo, right? Like the town I come from, they just made alcohol legal in it.
What?
A few years ago.
Yeah. What town are you from, man?
Columbia, Kentucky.
That's crazy. They just made alcohol legal?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good place to study. That's like an uncontacted tribe.
Yeah. Well, you look, if you make it legal, the bootleggers will go out of business.
Right. Oh, okay. It's Dukes of Hazzard style.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. They just made alcohol legal. Holy shit. So yeah, vape pens are out of the question.
Oh yeah. Listen.
Show up with a pot leaf T-shirt, they'll shoot you.
Oh, listen. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's a weird taboo, but that combination, particularly like indica, it helps a lot of veterans.
Yeah, the indica is like it's you take like two or three puffs of that, and man,
Makes you conk out.
You're asleep.
Yeah.
And you don't wake up with a hangover.
Right.
That's the cool part of it.
Yeah. It's a different kind of sleep, and CBD has some great benefits for people as well in alleviating anxiety. A lot of people like to use the two of them in conjunction. But at least it's good that that's available to you. Yeah. Where are you living these days?
I live in Austin.
Oh, okay. So you can get it there, right?
It's
Even
not,
if it's legal. It's not legal, right?
It's not.
No.
Yeah.
But it's still there.
Yeah, it's still there.
Austin's filled with hippies. It's the weirdest place in North Texas, right?
They are. They're keeping it weird.
They definitely keep it weird, but it's a weird combination because it's like hippies, but there's also a lot of guns. Yeah. Like it's like, you know what I mean? It's like a hunting culture and a Second Amendment culture, and there's like a lot going on there. And then hippies.
It's like it's like people wearing fanny packs with guns in them.
Yes.
Right? Like
yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, you see a guy with a fanny pack in Texas, assume.
Yeah, assume he's carrying. Right?
Yeah, it's a different animal. And Arizona's even weird. Like Arizona's one of those open carry states, right? Yeah. You could just have it on your hip and go to the supermarket.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. When you carry it on your hip and go to the supermarket, I mean, that's obviously the first person that they would shoot. They should shoot, right? Right. Like, okay, well, I know he's armed, so let's go ahead and make sure we.
Yeah, right. I think people think of it as a deterrent, but sometimes deterrents are also attractants.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, at least you can get a vape pen there. Yeah. While you're in town, I suggest you stock up.
Yeah.
This place is ridiculous.
California's got it everywhere.
California's got too much.
It's crazy.
Jamie, what did you just read about the company that's got a bunch of fucking pesticides and shit in their stuff?
Pesticides?
Yeah, they just tested it. They just tested some shit that we used to have in the studio, but Jamie went and threw it out. That's the real problem with this. It's wild, wild west out here, and unless you're testing things on a regular basis, you might be selling something. I had a guy named John Norris who wrote a book called The Hidden War, and the book is all about how he was game warden, and during his normal duties, like looking for, making sure that people aren't overfishing or hunting without a license, that kind of stuff, they started finding these cartel grow ops. Wow. And these cartel grow ops are extremely, the weed that they're putting out is extremely dangerous because it's got these super toxic pesticides to keep animals away and to keep bugs away. Mm-hmm. And so they're putting this shit on weed, then that stuff winds up getting to the hands of people, particularly in other parts of the country where it's illegal. Oh, wow. And it's just filled with pesticides. And, you can get sick from that stuff, and people can get real sick from it.
It's terrible.
Did you find it, Jamie?
Yeah, so they had a petrosolvent extraction or something. Let me see. I'll just let you read it, so I don't say the wrong part.
So... Bam. California vape maker Cushy Punch caught making illegal products. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, tip.
This is in, what is the website here?
This is Leafly, so it's like a weed website.
Oh, weed. They have websites. So what does it say? The tip what?
Consumer Affairs served a warrant.
Prompted by a tip, investigators at the California Department of Consumer Affairs served a search warrant Thursday, October the 3rd, in a light industrial space northwest Los Angeles, Canoga Park District. That's over here. They found an illegal cannabis product manufacturing operation apparently operated by Cushy Punch, a legal state licensed company. Authorities seized a number of finished products, including gummies in the Cushy Punch packaging and disposable vaporizers in Cushy vape packaging. In photos obtained by Leafly, the facility appeared to be performing petrosolvent extractions, where a technician concentrates the active ingredients in cannabis THC. Petrosolvent extracting is legal with a permit in California. The extraction method can sometimes have the effect of concentrating pesticides along with the THC. But it says it's legal. Hold on, scroll back up, Jamie.
Yeah, that part did say it was legal.
So it said it's legal with a permit in California. So the problem was that they didn't have a permit?
I think maybe this place that they went to didn't have a permit. Correct?
Edibles and vape cartridges seized. Dun, dun, dun. San Fernando Valley facility appeared to be in the business of putting those extracts into professional-looking THC foods as well as disposable vape pen cartridges. Tall file cabinets held thousands of boxes of Cushy vape pens and Cushy Punch edibles. I don't understand this because it says if it's legal, you can. A source familiar with Cushy Punch accused the adult use licensee of maintaining two facilities, one licensed and one black market. Okay. Leafly is granting the source's request for anonymity. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, they could have actually been using the packaging maybe too to package some stuff that was
well,
black
it seems
market,
like they have one license at one place and the other place not. The source alleges that the cannabis that tested clean went through Cushy Punch's licensed facility and into the licensed supply chain. The source also says the cannabis might fail the state's stringent pesticide standards, went to the illicit extraction lab, pen factory. Okay, so some of it, but it doesn't say it did fail.
It says they were using untested black market oil that is heavy in pesticide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something got tested and they didn't know what was up.
Federal legalization. Solve all this shit. That's what they should do. Federal legalization and nationwide standards. Make it so it's stupid to grow shit illegally.
Yeah. Yeah, make it to where it's not a.
There was a great South Park episode I was watching about this. It's fucking hilarious.
The new one?
Yeah, with the Mexican Joker.
Okay.
See that one?
I did not. I heard their new episodes are really good this year.
The Mexican Joker. It's fucking hilarious. This guy gets pissed because other people are growing weed. He's got a weed operation, and he's giving people weed, and everybody's happy. He's selling weed and doing great. But then people start growing their own weed, and he gets furious. He's like, "You stole my fucking idea." He's like, "You can't grow weed." He's like, "What? I thought I was gardening." He's like, "Fuck you." And he's like, it's like. But I mean, that is the problem, man. It's easy to grow weed. Yeah, there's the Mexican Joker. The problem is that was a different part of the episode. The B story was that Cartman called ICE on his friends because he just like he found out that you could just call ICE and like have people suspected. So he called it on Kyle and had Kyle fucking arrested and his whole family arrested. It's such a fucking look at him there, lying there mad at Cartman, and then Cartman got arrested himself. It was so ridiculous. What they were worried about was one of the Mexican kids growing up to become the Mexican Joker and taking and killing everybody. So they had like an ICE agent. I'm giving away a lot of spoilers. It's worth seeing though. It's fucking hilarious.
It's so funny.
It's just so ridiculous.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's just so ridiculous when you find out but. You can grow your own weed. That's the point. But you can't legally, federally. And you should be able to. It's fucking stupid.
It's stupid.
Yeah. Well, especially when it helps cops and firemen and first responders and soldiers. And it helps a lot of people, man.
Look at how much money we spend trying to fight it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the problem, though. There's a business in trying to fight it.
Yeah.
Particularly like the prison guard unions. They always fight against it. There's a lot of people who actually fight against legalization, which is... It's a pretty un-American thing to do.
We got that restaurant that just opened up in Hollywood. You can smoke weed at now.
That restaurant can go fuck itself. I'm not going anywhere near that place. Listen, smoke a little weed at home and go to a regular goddamn restaurant. I don't want to go to a restaurant people zoned out of their fucking mind.
Taking gravity bong hits at the table.
Fuck that. Can you imagine?
I can.
Everybody's freaking out.
I can't imagine.
The conversations are probably real stupid. Everybody forgets what they're talking about. These are rookies. You can't be smoking that much weed with rookies. Showing up at these buildings where you got restaurants filled with people smoking weed, that's a recipe for a disaster.
They have to make you order before you smoke, too.
Oh, my God,
You'll never get out of it.
But not only that, after you smoke, you're like, what? Who the fuck ordered pizza? Bitch, you ordered pizza. You're so high you don't remember what you ordered 10 minutes ago. Yeah, it's all those public places. Like, people are used to getting drunk in public. They're used to go to a bar. You can have a couple of drinks. You're fine, right? 2-3 drinks. You're fine. You're just you with a little tipsy.
Yeah.
You're fine. But you could have a fucking psychotic spiral if you have a pot edible at some establishment. We've all seen people lose their marbles, especially if you got some rookie from out of town, like comes over from South Dakota. I can't believe you guys have free weed. What is that? What is that, a Chiba Chew? And they chew that thing, and an hour later, you're trying to peel them off the ceiling. like, what happened to Jake? Oh, the fucking guy's still high. It's 48 hours later. I don't know what to do.
Make a room for that in the back.
Yeah, big padded room.
Yeah.
Like the drunk tank at jail, but you have the same thing in the back. Yeah,
with soft music. They just play the Carpenters and they just burn incense for you and just try to bring you down. Slow down, you're gonna be fine. But I'm not. Yeah, it's too risky. Like, I want restaurants where people they're straight. Everybody's fine. You just order a steak. Regular restaurant.
People are getting loaded in those too, though. Sitting at the bar,
before they go.
Drinking.
Drunk.
Yeah, getting wasted.
But for some reason, I feel like that doesn't bother me as much.
Because we're used to it.
Yeah, that's true.
It. Just used to it.
Right. Like, do you remember when you were a kid, when you first got drunk? Like, how old were you when you first got drunk? Were you in the military or when you got out?
I was young.
Long before, yeah. But you remember when you first try it, you don't, first of all, no one's there with you. It's not like your dad or your uncle's going, here, you have 2 shots, that's it. No, you're drinking with your friends, and you don't know how far to go. And so I remember throwing up in the cab. I was drinking Jack Daniels with my friends. We were listening to music, and I remember I was like in a beanbag. I was 14. I was laying in this beanbag looking up, and the whole fucking world is spinning.
Yep.
I was like, this is ridiculous. I got to get out of here. And I called a cab to take me home, and I threw up in the cab. I was like, oh, my God. I didn't know how to do it. Nobody taught you how to do it.
No.
You just wind up figuring out with your friend, and you're just lucky if you don't drink yourself to death. It's just luck.
It's pure luck.
Yeah. I was 14, probably weighed 134 pounds, fucking drinking like a fish, had no idea what I was doing. You know, probably had 5-6 drinks, plastered. Yeah, it's terrible. But we're used to that by the time but you go out with someone in their 28, if they don't know how to drink, get rid of them. Don't hang out with them.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I first moved to LA, I was like 27. I went on a date with this gal. First date was great. Second date, I met her at a bar. And when I met her there, she was shit-faced. Just shit-faced, stumbling off the fucking, off the stool. Couldn't keep her shit together, dropped a glass, broke. And I was like, I'm out of here.
See ya.
I left her at the bar. I was like, fuck this.
So you ghosted her?
Yes. Hell yeah. Those were the glorious days when no one had cell phones. Ah, beautiful time to be alive. Yeah. She had to call my house. Good luck, bitch. She didn't have a cell phone. Very few people had cell phones in 94. You know? Very few people. There's nobody had. I mean, I had one. I had a Motorola StarTAC. It was like a big fat boy. It lasted you could talk on it for 13 minutes before it ran out of batteries. It had an antenna. You pulled the antenna up. Click, click. You remember those things? Dude, you thought you were Captain Kirk with those bad boys.
Yeah, I was 6.
Yeah. Yeah, man. In 94, were you 6?
I was 6.
Yeah, that's when I first moved here. Click, click. Hello. You hold it up to your ear like the detachable battery. You get the fat battery. You get an extra 40 minutes of talking.
Did you keep it? Where'd you keep it at? How'd you carry it around?
I don't remember. I probably had one of them holsters on the side because it's too thick for your pocket.
Yeah.
You can't keep that fucking fat bastard in your pocket. I remember when the Razor phone came out, everybody was like, holy shit, we're in the future. It's a credit card.
Yeah,
You're talking on a credit card. That was the shit. That little thing was so small. But then that was like 6 minutes of talking.
Yeah. Yeah, the Razor.
Yeah, that thing. And nobody had a cord. You couldn't it wasn't like today. Like, hey, you got a charger. Like, most people have iPhones or Androids. Mm-hmm. It's either USB-C or it's Lightning. Most people have chargers somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Especially iPhones in America. back then, if you didn't have a charge, you're fucked. You can go to nobody has a goddamn cable at a restaurant for your fucked up cell phone. It didn't exist. It didn't exist. Most people didn't even have cell phones until like 2000. Like, when did you get a cell phone for the first time?
I was like 17 or 18, like my senior year of high school. So like 2000.
Yeah, like 2000-ish.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. I had one in 94. I actually had one in 88. I had one that was attached to my car.
It was like the box, like the little box that had the cord on it?
Yeah, well, sort of. It was actually bolted into the car. It was in the center. Like, it looked dope. It looked like a fucking... like a pimp. You drive it around. I lit a Honda CRX, and it was like right there in the middle of the seats, like the phone. But it helped me because I used to get gigs because like booking agents, like if someone couldn't make a gig or they needed somebody fell out or got sick, they would call me. I actually had a phone, so I was in my car. They'd call me up, and I got a number of gigs because I had this fucking cell phone.
Were you in the right age where you had pager codes? Did you have
yeah.
pager codes?
You know that pager was Joey Diaz forever, deep into the 2000s. And he would, if he owed people money or if he didn't like talking to them, he'd just throw his pager away. Hey, I got a new pager, dog. And he would get a new pager. He would just lose that pager. You could never get a hold of him.
That's so...
Because he had to call you back. So he would call you back from just random phone numbers, you know?
I'm going to the pager.
The pager was the shit.
Back.
But then what happened was some people got pagers that could send text messages.
Well, I was going to say, at first they expanded it to like you could get sports updates for summer. Like everyone needed to get sports scores all day long.
Right,
and like they paid an extra $5 a month.
But I remember I was at the Comedy Store in the back kitchen area, and one of the people that worked there had a page. Maybe it was a comic. I don't remember. But they had a pager with a keyboard. I was like, what the fuck is that? And they're like, you could send people messages. I'm like, no. Like, yeah, like if you're at a club, you can send them a message, and they can know where you are. I was like, that is crazy. Like, that's great. You're sending messages? And I remember thinking, I should probably get one of those. But then I never got around to doing it. But they had pagers. This is before everybody had cell phones. They had pagers that you could type messages on.
That Venn diagram bleed over into the Nextel. Ding, ding.
Oh, yeah.
Talk walkie-talkie to
Eddie
someone.
Bravo had one of those.
Very close time period.
I mean, I would always give him shit. I'm like, you have a phone. Why the fuck would you put a walkie-talkie on a phone? A phone's better than a walkie-talkie. Like, why not put smoke screens on? Well, how about, have drum signals? This is so stupid. You got to have smoke signals on your phone.
You hear
it's a fucking
everywhere.
phone. It's
that
a
sound
phone.
Would be everywhere.
Yeah, you don't have to say over. A phone's better. You don't have to say over. I told things like only one person can talk at a time. And the other thing about the walkie-talkie was, I was like, okay, can someone listen? Like, do you have to press the button, or could someone just listen? That was the concern. Like, like your girl could call you and just listen. You're talking shit with your friends. Oh, yeah. And she could just do.
I had a thought the other day, too. This was a 90s thing. Maybe you might remember this, too. When you would turn on your home wireless phone, sometimes you'd just hear your neighbors talking.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, they couldn't hear you.
Yes.
Like, you just listened to a half an hour conversation, like, randomly.
So where I lived at, we didn't have neighbors close enough.
Okay.
I remember that clearly when I was living in an apartment. I heard the neighbor talking through like a soft, but I would hear their whole conversation. That was like you picked up on their frequency.
The wireless thing just got
that was
what bad.
There was no encryption back there.
Yeah.
You didn't have to be a hacker. You just had to have a fucking antenna. Yeah. Those days, simpler days, but at least people, for the most part, were talking to each other face to face.
Face to face.
That was the vast majority of communication was face to face. Now, I would venture to say it's flipped on its head. Mm-hmm. And the vast majority of communication is probably through text messages.
Well, 100%. I mean, text messages, emails. I mean, people can build their own reality now, right? Like I can you never have to look at me, and I can build my own reality through Instagram, Facebook, through all the social media. I mean, literally, I can build my own filter. Yes. My life can be filtered.
Sure.
And people don't want to look in the mirror of unfiltered realness.
Yeah. Yeah, they just want to be in a bubble, communicate with people that have like-minded views.
Make their own reality.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a extremely strange time when it comes to the way people communicate with each other.
And there's no accountability, right? Like you communicate through those things. Like you can say whatever you want, and there's no accountability. Mm-hmm. There's no accountability for what you say to people, for the shit you talk to people. there's no accountability because I can just hide behind a computer screen. I can hide behind a screen. I can hide behind my Instagram profile. You can't find me. You can't see me.
You know how people can like your posts, like put a little heart, they like your posts?
Yeah.
Imagine if they give you an electric shock.
Oh,
Like if all the people, if people thought you were cunts, there's like a little lightning bolt next to the next to the heart. Like, this guy's a dick.
yeah. I'm glad they don't, because in that I'd probably get more of those.
We all would. Yeah, I'd probably be dead. Probably shocked to death. I mean, imagine if someone could just reach out and shock you anytime they want.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
It'd be fucking terrible.
That'd be terrible.
But I mean, the emotional pain that people cause anytime they want, where they could just reach out and say something terrible to people, especially people doing it through anonymous accounts.
Oh, that's the worst. And you know what? And it's like people you're saying this to, like they're real people.
Yes. They're
Like,
real people.
Like the people that you're judging, the people that you're criticizing their lives, that the media chooses to put out there, like they're real people going through real problems too.
Do you think that you have, and this is going to be a crazy question, but do you think you have more of an appreciation for life because you've taken life?
I think that I have more appreciation for people in life because I have seen what suffering looks like. I have felt suffering. Like when I look at people and people have their problems and they come to me or they say they tell me their experience. I don't try to compare the experiences. Like it's not a game. It's not a
contest.
It's not a contest. I try to look at them, and when they tell me their experience, I just instantly go to, well, gosh, like, I know this person's suffering. How can I help them get through it? Because I know what that feels like. And that's where I try to relate to people on that level of not the experience, because look, I look at people. Yeah, my day it sucked. People gone through way worse, a million times worse. You look at sexual assault victims. You look at domestic violence victims. I feel like they've gone through way worse than I could ever experience, right? Like they've gone through just this stuff, and their PTSD is astronomical. But it's like we can all find a way to relate on that empathetic side of, gosh, you're going through something, like let me help you get through that. Like if I can help you get through that, I want to help you get through that. And I think that I know what it's like to suffer, and I've seen suffering at such extreme levels that I appreciate. I just want to help people. I just want to change the world.
What do you do with your days most of the time these days?
So I do a lot of public speaking. I work with Hiring Our Heroes, with helping veterans transition back, getting jobs in Toyota. And I'm launching a website on Own the Dash. So Own the Dash is kind of like my brand of what I believe in, of owning your dash.
Dash?
Dash.
What do you mean by dash?
So Linda Ellis wrote a poem. It's called The Dash. And so she talks about, on your tombstone, you have the day you were born and the day you die, which are two of the most insignificant days of your life. They're both the only 2 days in your life that aren't 24 hours. But what matters is that dash in between. And you don't have control of the day you're born or the day you die, but you have control of what that dash looks like and how you made people feel and how they're going to remember you the day that you're gone. You have that control every day. And so I'm all about owning your dash. Own your dash. Be the best you. Don't try to be the best somebody else. Be the best you. Wake up every day and put it all on the table and put it into making people's lives better. And so I'm launching this site to where it's like it's helping people, empowering people to owning their dash, to being okay with being the best them. I think people want to be the best them. I think people want to be positive. I just don't think people have anybody showing them how to do it.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think there's a lot of people that are frustrated because they really don't know how to live life in a positive way. And they're spinning their wheels.
Too many people are out there. They're out there surviving instead of succeeding. They're just surviving.
And you said Toyota with Hire for Heroes? Is Toyota
Hire Our Heroes?
Is that...
Yeah, so I teamed up with Toyota when I got out. I mean, Toyota has been, everybody at Toyota has just been so incredible. But I teamed up with Toyota and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and so we built this platform it's a resume engine. So basically, it helps veterans translate what they did in the military to what what corporations are looking for.
And so Toyota just sponsors this.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so that's most of your time is these speaking engagements?
Yeah, and then I have a canvas company, Flipside Canvas. So we basically do digital art. And we
so that's why you were asking about these images that we have?
Yeah, so we have Flipside Canvas, so we do digital art, and we put it up on different media types. So we do infused metal, we do canvas, and we also do floated paper.
Did we order those things already?
That's why I was asking.
Oh, perfect.
To talk to you about that.
We'll do it through you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting a bunch of shit made right. We're about to just now.
Sure. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'll do it through you, 100%.
I love
100%.
it. So we love it.
Yeah.
So I do that, and then also, I was telling you earlier, we just launched, Discipline Go with Jacko, right? I've got a signature flavor coming out called Dak Savage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this is Jacko's energy drink?
Yeah, Jacko's energy drink.
We were just talking about this. Jacko should not have a goddamn energy drink. Keep that mother. He drinks tea. He drinks like herb tea.
If you could just bottle up Jacko's energy.
Walls.
Right? If you could just bottle up Jacko's energy and pass it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an interesting dude, but the world's better that he's alive.
100%.
I think people like that, first of all, they're a tremendous source of inspiration and information.
Yeah.
But inspiration, particularly important, because he leads by example. And what he does with his life, what he does with his days, like he took an image the other day on his Instagram of the sunset, and it's like, this is finite.
Yeah.
Go get it.
Go get it.
A few of these. You don't get many.
And he does it so simple too, right?
Yep.
Like everything, it ain't complicated.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's to the point.
We played his video, Good. I played it probably 50 fucking times in this podcast because I love it so much. It's a video where he's talking about his response to anything that goes wrong. Good. Here's a chance to grow. Good. We learned, And there's like this video, and it's so intense because there's great music and animation to it, and the video is on YouTube. I've literally watched it 100 times.
Yeah, when I get in my hardest times, that's what I watch. I watch that Good video. It's done so much for me.
That video is amazing.
It's amazing. It just puts it in perspective. It's like, I don't know, what is it, 2 minutes long?
Yeah.
And that 2 minutes, if you're driving down the road, you just want to, afterwards, you just want to kick your windshield out. Let's do it, right?
It's fuel.
Let's do this.
It's fuel. It's inspiration. I mean, it makes your fucking hackles raise up. Gives you goosebumps.
Yeah.
It makes you want to go.
It makes you want to go.
Yeah.
It makes you just want to, it just makes you want to go.
That's why guys like Jacko and Tim Kennedy and David Goggins and these fucking dudes that are out there that provide so much inspiration.
Yeah, I heard Goggins. He said that he did the one the other day. He's out there running, and he said, I don't know how I'll slaughter it, but he goes, it's hot out here, and he goes, this guy pulled up to me, and he said something to him about, why are you running? It's so hot, and he's like, we need doctors, we need lawyers. And we also need hard motherfuckers.
We need fucking savages.
We need hard motherfuckers.
He sends me random text messages out of nowhere. I'll read them to you because they're so ridiculous. Because he's so fucking savage, man. But he means it. He sends you these text messages, and I get them just randomly. Here's one. No need to respond. Hope all's well, brother. Continue to live in the grip of life. As you know, nothing gets done by being a bitch. Stay hard, brother. That's a random David Goggins text message. It's Tuesday. I'm at home just watching TV or something. I get this message. I'm like, what the fuck, Dave? Jesus Christ. And he's out there. It's probably 115 degrees outside. He's been running for 18 hours.
Stay hard.
Stay hard.
Oh, yeah.
But those guys are a massive source of inspiration.
They are. And you know what? And I just love them all so much because they're real.
Yes.
They're real. It's not an act. It's not a performance.
Right.
It's not a show. It's not, they wake up every day, especially, Jacko, wakes up every day. Tim Kennedy. I mean, these guys just wake up every day and live everything that they say.
Yeah. And Jacko wakes up every day and takes a picture of his fucking watch.
He does.
Look, it's 4:30, bitch. Here we go.
That's not the way that, somebody like me would do it. Is I would take 10 of them, 10 of them in one day, and then I would put them on Hootsuite, and they would come out. They would come out on the timer. Right?
One day you wake up at 4:30. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just not. That's just not. But they crush it, and that's why the world needs them.
The world does, and also people with the kind of experiences that they've had. Mm-hmm. Damn. Their inspiration means more. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there giving inspiration, but they haven't done shit. When you get inspiration from someone that is living it every goddamn day.
Yeah.
Pushing it every goddamn day.
Pushing it every day and finding they got every reason to not do it, but they always find the reason to do it.
Yeah. Jacko's recently gotten into bow hunting now, which is pretty exciting.
How was that bow hunt with him?
It was great. Well, I wasn't hunting with him. I was in camp with him. He was hunting with my friend John Dudley, who coached me and has helped me, and he coached Jacko to his first elk. And, but we all got to share camp and talk. We did a podcast together. It's available on Knock On Archery, and it's also available on my brother Andy Stump's podcast, which is Cleared Hot.
I love Andy.
I love Andy, too. He's a shit. He was in camp as well. And we were there for 5 days in Utah. We had a great fucking time. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
It's gorgeous up there, man. God, it's so beautiful.
Andy's an awesome dude, too. He's crazy.
He's legitimately crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who has the world record for the longest flight suit in one of them flying squirrel fucking suits, that guy's out of his fucking mind. But he doesn't do the flying squirrel suit anymore.
He doesn't?
Nope. No, he had a buddy die. Well, he's had several, but one too many, I believe. And then base jumping. He's had a bunch of friends die.
Did he quit base jumping?
Yes. He's still skydiving.
Yeah.
No more base jumping.
We're supposed to skydive together. I skydive a lot, too, so I love it. I don't skydive. I mean, I'm not nowhere near Andy Stump.
Dude, that looks like a ridiculous thing to do. I don't get it, but I was just in a hot air balloon recently. That was as close as I get to skydiving.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do it? Come on.
I mean, I definitely would do it, but I don't want to. I don't want to jump out of a goddamn plane. I would do it.
Yeah.
If I had to do it, I would do it. But I don't.
You wouldn't volunteer to do it.
No. Well, it's just some crazy thrill. Look, we're almost gonna die. Yeah, and then we landed. Woo! Don't you feel better that you didn't die? Oh, I can imagine that. I'll lie in bed and close my eyes and pretend I'm jumping out of a plane. Yee. I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah. But Andy, that's not enough. He's got to get in that goddamn squirrel suit.
And then fly close to all those,
Yeah, and you can calculate that shit wrong if you don't know every goddamn nuance of the surface of the earth.
Or just like the wind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, how about that? I mean, there was one that we played on this podcast that's horrendous where a guy was trying to bridge the gap through the Golden Gate Bridge and he slams into the bridge while these people are watching. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. And the sound when it hits the bridge is like a car accident.
That sounds terrible.
Oh, my God. It's so terrible. Because you realize that people are realizing this guy's going to hit the bridge. Because he just, you're floating. It's not like you have, controls. You're just kind of guessing. And it's like you guessed wrong. Slammed right into the side of the bridge. It's horrific.
Yeah, if it's all about guessing, then I'm not usually good at guessing. So.
No. Not interested, man. One of the greatest jiu-jitsu guys of all time, Hollis Gracie, he died skydiving. Not
really?
Skydiving. What's that called? What's it called when you're on those things? Paragliding. Yeah. The triangle thing and flying around those things.
That's how he died?
Brazil. Yeah, he died slamming into a mountain.
Wow.
Yeah.
That would suck.
Yeah. But again, it's these goddamn savages that can't get enough adrenaline. Andy.
I love it. Andy's like, I blame him for me getting into it. I was interested in it and I did it. I love it though. I love it.
Yeah, he's gotten a couple of friends of mine into it. Goddamn psycho.
Yeah. He told me though that I can't, he said no base jumping. He did tell me that. He's like, no base jumping. He's like, you don't be base jumping.
Yeah, that one doesn't work out all the time.
It doesn't, does it?
No, there's times it doesn't work out. And when it doesn't work out, it's terrible. Yeah. It's, I get it. But those things, those cheap thrills, it seems like a cheap thrill. I get it. I get it. I mean, I'm not telling anybody they shouldn't do it. It definitely should be legal. I'm not saying it should be illegal. You should be able to do it for sure.
You should do it.
Fuck that.
So you're not even on the fence.
Fuck that.
Oh.
Not interested.
Oh, come on.
What else are you doing with your time these days?
That's it. Raising my daughters. You know, I got 2 and 3-year-old. They're awesome. That's always fun.
Yeah, man.
Flying my helicopter.
You got a helicopter?
Yeah. So I got it.
Holy shit.
My buddy, Tim's introduced me to a guy named Shane Steiner, and he got me into flying. So I love it. Like, I'm addicted to it. I love it. It makes my life a lot easier. I mean, it also, whenever if I go to Dallas or Houston, it's a difference in me getting home that day versus me staying another night and not being able to wake up, in the same house as my kids, right? So it's I love it. I love it.
That's pretty cool, man. I've been up in them before. I was in them in Hawaii. I've flown them in them when you do the tour of the volcanoes.
Yeah.
And then recently my friend Bill Burr, he's gotten really into flying helicopters, and he took me up and we flew around downtown LA, and it was crazy. We went around Malibu after the fires too.
Wow.
Where you see it from the surface, or from the sky rather. You get a totally different perspective of like how bad the damage was. But yeah, he loves it. He flies all over the place.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah, you come to Austin, we'll go fly around.
Fuck that. No, I'll fly with you for sure. How long have you been doing it for? A couple weeks.
Yeah, a few weeks. No, I should be taking my. If I do anything, like
Is this you?
Yeah, this is me right here. Yeah.
So did you buy this thing? You bought a plane? Holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, a helicopter?
Yeah.
That's ultimate freedom though, right?
Oh my gosh.
You go wherever the hell you want, and you can land in a small area.
Yeah, like sometimes you're flying over, the Lake Travis, and just like 8 to 10 feet off the water, and it's like, yeah, there's Shane right there. Today's his birthday, actually. Happy birthday, Shane.
Happy birthday, Shane. That's pretty dope.
That was the day I did my first solo.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the first day.
How far did you fly?
So basically you just go up and you do 3 takeoffs and landings. So that's his helicopter over there. So
okay. The red one in the background?
yeah, we're starting a helicopter club,
Oh really?
Yeah, Helly's Angels. No, I'm just kidding.
Have you ever been hella hunting?
I have pigs.
Have you? Yeah. I've watched Ted Nugent. There's a show that they did called Apocalypse Now.
The Porcalypse.
Where he's Ted Nugent hanging out of a helicopter gunning down these wild pigs.
Yeah.
And people who don't know, it's really actually a necessary evil because these wild pigs in Texas in particular, they've overrun the state. There it is. There's Uncle Ted. Apocalypse.
Oh, God.
That's just so ridiculous. And he's just taking them out. Tink, tink, tink.
I mean, there's so many of them. Like, it has to be done.
It does have to be done.
Like, he's zooming in.
It's fucking crazy. The video is goddamn crazy. You got to see him doing reload. And they're just gunning these pigs down from the sky. And that's
they're doing a talk.
Brian Quacko's Pig Man. He's got a show called Pig Man.
Yeah, that's in the same type of helicopter. That's I think it's R-44. Yeah.
That is a fucking crazy video, man. It's so crazy.
It's so awesome.
They shot, I think, something like 250 hogs in a day.
Oh, my God.
Just flying around, gunning them down. That's a lot of bacon, a lot of barbecue.
That is.
Yeah, they just round them up, and they actually feed the homeless with them. The thing about pigs is they're destructive, and they're terrible for the ranches, and they're terrible for these farms, but they're damn delicious.
They are.
So if you, especially the wild ones actually taste better than domestic pigs. It's a far superior meat. But it's, you gotta.
A lot of times, though, you get to them, and they're all nasty. They're all eat up with stuff.
That can happen too, yeah.
You gotta watch them. Yeah, infected, like, because they eat everything. But they'll come in like a pig will tear up, like, and it's crazy how fast they reproduce, right? Like, I think it's like a pig's gestation. So I think after a pig is born, I don't know how long it is after they have their first litter. Like, it's like every, I don't know if it's 6 months or if it's 6 weeks. I don't know what
I think they can have their first litter at 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. And then I think it only takes them, like, I don't know how it is, but like usually after they have their litter, they're pregnant the next day.
That's crazy.
Like, it's like there's this whole gestation period of why they reproduce so much.
Right.
And that's the problem with them. They're everywhere in Texas.
They're everywhere in California now too. They're in San Jose and people's front yards chewing up their grass and stuff, and They're all over the place, man.
What do they do? What do they do about them out here in their front yards?
Well, you can hunt them. The place where I'm hunting elk, you can hunt pigs. That's Tajon Ranch, and there's in Northern California. I mean, it's a famous place where Hunter Thompson used to hunt them with AK-47s. He used to go out and hunt pigs.
That's
There's
awesome.
a famous picture of him with a pig hanging from a rope that he's quartering, and gutting.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's they were brought to California by William Randolph Hearst, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, he had Hearst Palace up there and Hearst Castle, and he wanted to bring a bunch of wild animals up there. So he had all these wild animals running around on his lawn, and some of them were Russian boars. So he brought over these Russian boars and sows, and they bred, and now they're all over the place.
Here they are.
Particularly Northern California. They get about as far south as Bakersfield, the Bakersfield area, but eventually they're probably going to make their way to the San Fernando Valley.
They'll
It's
probably
gonna take
link
a few
up.
years.
They'll probably just keep going and link up in Texas.
Probably.
Well,
they're fucking everywhere, man. They're going to... People don't know. If you've never seen it before, people on the outside are like, oh, why would you want to shoot pigs? But if you just saw the kind of devastation and millions of dollars worth of property damage every year for these farmers. And for farmers, they're on a tight margin as it is.
Yeah.
If you're a farmer or a rancher and you're trying to grow crops, it's tough to make a living.
And you got to worry about weather and everything else, much less pigs.
Millions of pigs, too.
Millions.
Yeah. I mean, people are like, wait a minute, millions? Are you exaggerating? No, millions. I think they estimate. Find out this. What's the number of wild hogs estimated in Texas? Just in Texas alone, I would bet, let's take a guess. I'm going to say 4 million.
Yeah, I'd go higher. I'd go 5.
5. What does it say, Jamie?
1.5.
No, they don't know shit, liberals.
Yeah.
Goddamn hippies. Is that real? Yeah. That's what it says?
Texas government website.
Texas government. They're corrupt.
Yeah. It's a government. You can't believe it.
Can't believe the goddamn government.
Yeah.
Well, we were a little wrong.
Yeah, we were a little off on that one.
Also, Ted Nugent's out there. He's probably be 15 million if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He's
awesome.
He's an interesting cat. I enjoyed talking to him. I had him on the podcast, and a lot of people. He's a polarizing character, But I don't think people understand him. You talk to him. He's actually a very good man. He's a good guy. I mean, he's got this outrageous side to him, and he says a bunch of outrageous shit. But that's also part of the way he gets attention for some of the things that he believes in. I don't think he's a bad guy at all.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make a statement to get people to pay attention, right?
Yeah, and also you got to realize this guy's been fighting the same fight for a long time in regards to hunting rights for a long, long time. Back when people didn't really have the same information that they have today. Now today people can understand conservation is actually very important, and it's important to remove certain numbers of the population of these animals, and also the money that you spend on these tags and on hunting licenses and even on gear, a percentage of that goes towards protecting habitat and hiring game wardens, and it's a very efficient system, and it's a system that's actually managed by wildlife biologists.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's a system that's very managed. Just like in Alaska, their game wardens up there. I mean, it seems like if you killed a moose or you fished with the wrong thing, the wrong hook, that's more important than if somebody got killed or something.
You know what somebody told me though, which is interesting. They have that Game Wardens TV show. They there's a show about game wardens. And somebody was telling me that game wardens are some unscrupulous game wardens are actually setting guys up just so that they could be on these shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're trying to set up stings and set up these things just so they could be on the shows. And they might even be entrapping people.
They, I know where I was from, they would put this deer out. It's that, if you get in trouble, shoot, if you can't shoot from the road.
Right.
And they put that fake
put a
deer.
Robot deer,
They put
right?
the robot deer out there.
With a camera on it. Yeah. That could film people trying to kill it.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. They'd get you. Yeah, we just had to watch out.
Watch out for robo deer.
Yeah.
Make sure it's a real deer.
Yeah.
It actually moves its head and shit. Yeah. It does. I've seen that thing.
It'll move and stuff, and they put it out in the field, where people drive by and they see it in the field. And
well, on one hand, I'm like, that's hilarious. On the other hand, fuck poachers.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Good. If you're out there doing that.
Good. If you're out there doing that, it's not fair, right?
Yeah. Well, it's crazy too. And, there's so many people out there that don't follow the rules, that are out there shooting animals they're not supposed to shoot. And, there's a reason why we have so many animals. It's because they have this stringent set of rules that they want you to follow.
Yeah.
And if you can get a tag for 2 animals, great. That's what you're allowed to get. You get 2 animals. That's it. And if you get 4 or 5 and you're storing them in your freezer and not letting anybody know, you're a criminal and you're part of the problem. And if everybody did that, there would be no animals left. And that's really what this country had at the turn of the century. When market hunting was in full swing, it almost wiped out black bears, almost wiped out white-tailed deer, almost wiped out elk. To this day, elk in this country are only in a small percentage of the population that they used to, including grizzly bears. Small percentage of the place where they used to be.
Yeah.
California has a goddamn grizzly bear as its state flag. There's a grizzly bear on the flag. There's no fucking grizzlies here. They whacked them all. They killed every one of them.
Yeah.
But they did that because they were killing people. The last guy to get killed by a grizzly bear was in I think his name is Stephen Levesque, and there's a town named after him. When you're headed up north, if you're on the way to Bakersfield, there's a town called Levesque, and that's where that guy got whacked.
So they named a town after him?
Yeah, that's the last place where a person got killed by a grizzly bear in California. And they just gunned them all down. Like, enough.
Got rid of all of them. That's awesome.
Have you ever been around a grizzly bear in real life?
Not a grizzly bear. I've seen brown bears, black bears.
Well, brown bear is a grizzly.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, unless it's a color fairies black bear.
Yeah, but what in there like a little bit? What's it, like? There's a little difference between them.
The difference is really their diet.
Yeah.
Grizzly bears are more aggressive because they're out there fucking up moose and deer and shit. It's a hard knock life for a grizzly bear.
Well, I think that so the brown bears. They're out there. They're out there crushing moose too, right?
They are, but they're also eating a shitload of fish.
Yeah.
Brown bears are coastal bears.
Gotcha.
And in Alaska and
yeah, so that's where I was at, is Alaska. So that's where I was around them, is in Alaska.
There's a crazy picture that was went viral a couple of days ago. This couple of guys are fly fishing, and they don't even realize that a bear is right behind them.
Oh gosh.
They're standing there in the river, and this is fucking huge bear. See if you can find the picture. It's these guys are on the river. A viral image. Men don't know bears behind them. They're fishing. They're on this river. This fucking huge bear is just right behind them, looking at them, and they don't even know it's there.
That's awesome. I'm glad bears are something else.
They're something else.
They're something else.
You seen it?
I thought you were. There's another video I was looking for yesterday. I thought you were talking about.
Look at that.
It's not.
They don't even know. They're fishing. Like, hey, guy. Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
They had no idea there's a fucking 900-pound bear right behind them.
Yeah, and then you're kind of screwed right there.
Mm-hmm.
What, like, do you think the guy's yelling at him as he's taking the photo, or do you think he took the photo and then told him?
The guy probably stayed there for hours taking pictures.
never told him?
He probably was hoping that the bear ate him and he'd get the best picture.
There's one crazy video of these people riding these bikes down this trail. And
the men in the photo were barely bothered when they realized the bear. Oh, well, they must be Alaskan natives.
Yeah,
goddamn savages up there.
They're crazy.
These people don't give a fuck. Those are different. That's a different breed of human up there.
Yeah, that's like they're hard people in Alaska.
Hard people.
Hard people.
Yeah. Looked over his shoulder and continued fishing. The bears in the park regularly walk up and down the riverbank searching for food and will dive into the water dozens of times per day. See, the thing is, those bears have so much salmon. They get so much meat that they just think of salmon as food.
Yeah.
Like, people are just a pain in the ass that might shoot them and kill them. They're not interested in that as much.
Man.
That's what he said.
Yeah. They probably would have jumped right over me or walked right past me to get the salmon. Yeah, that's why they're so big. They get so much protein. There's an insane amount of fish.
That's crazy.
That come up that river, and that's why the salmon are there. There's a great video of this guy. He's got a camera set up, and a bear walks right next to him and just sits down. And it's like as close as where Jamie is. And it's fucking huge. It's so big. This guy's got a lawn chair there. He's like, hey, bear, come on, man. Get out of here. And the bear is like 900 pounds or something. It sits down right next to right where Jamie is. Just chilling, looking at, and they look out onto the river itself, and it's filled with bears. Like 40 bears in view because they're all just going through the salmon run.
That's insane.
It is insane.
That is insane. Yeah, I lived up in Alaska for a year, and it was a whole different world.
It's a different world.
It was a whole different world.
It's barely America.
Yeah, it's a really nice place to visit.
I love Anchorage. I've
Yeah.
only been once, but man, I really enjoy the shit out of it.
When did you go up there?
I guess it was 2-3 years ago. My friend Ari Shafir and I, we did some salmon fishing. Then we did a couple shows up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a great time, man.
Yeah, like I think like April to, probably September is really, it's awesome.
It's hard
beautiful.
to sleep though.
Yeah, I mean, because it's,
You got to cover your eyes. Like it's weird.
yeah.
Like you're tired and it looks like it's 2:00 in the afternoon. Like this is
Yeah.
fucking strange.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
It doesn't get too warm up there. It doesn't, obviously.
But those mosquitoes are gangster.
They should be like the state bird. Those mosquitoes should be
They're
the state
so
bird.
big.
They're terrible.
They're so big and so aggressive. They don't even make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got out of the car. We got to the river, and you pull up the trailhead, and we got out of the car, and we hadn't sprayed the bug spray on. We opened up the door. I was thinking, well, we'll get out. I'll put my clothes on, then I'll spray myself with bug spray. The moment we opened the door, the car was filled with 100 mosquitoes. Like, how the fuck did they even know we're here?
Well,
They just found us
fresh
so
blood.
quick.
Fresh blood.
Just open the door, and it's like, wow, like what the fuck, man? We're both swatting, and we're spraying bug spray inside the truck. It's ridiculous.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's a crazy place to live, but it's also like when you're up there, you recognize like, oh, like these people have a way closer relationship with the natural world than we do. It gets cold as fuck in the winter. They're surrounded by grizzly bears. Moose are everywhere. Deer are everywhere. It's just a different relationship with wildlife.
Yeah, it's like, and everything up there, like the one thing I noticed is whether you're going out to, there was a cabin at Mount Denali, and so what we would do is we'd ride snow machines. You'd have to park, and then you'd have to ride snow machines out to it. And it's like everything you do up there is, it's like serious. You know what I mean? It's not, like you better take it serious or you could die.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. If you want to go fishing or, on the river or whatever, like it's all serious.
But it seems like the people have a different attitude. What is this? The mosquitoes there? Oh
Mosquito
my
swarm.
God. That's in Alaska?
Yeah.
They can kill baby caribou. Caribou calves, literally mosquitoes will like sting them around their eyeballs, their assholes until they die. Swarm engulfed scientists who recorded a god-awful phenomenon.
That's crazy.
Hey, man, that's nature, right? That's what happens when you only get to live for a couple months.
Yeah.
You just got to go
Go
for
all
it.
out.
Yeah. That's why in LA there's fucking zero mosquitoes. They're just like chill. Oh my God, look at his legs are just covered. They'll bite you right through your fucking pants. They don't give a shit about your pants. Look at that guy's foot. Oh my God. Click on the foot covered in mosquitoes. That is crazy.
Oh, that is crazy.
Oh my God, that gives me the heebie-jeebies just looking at it. Why is that guy letting that happen? Backpacking with
gram.
monster skeeters. Yeah, they're doing it for the gram.
Doing it for the
Imagine
gram.
getting your feet lit up just for Instagram. It's not worth it,
That's
man.
terrible.
Keep your feet protected, bro. It's too crazy. They'll go right through your socks. Anything.
they're terrible.
They don't give a shit about clothes.
They're
Clothes
terrible.
are not going to protect you.
Clothes. Nope, not up there.
Do you get a chance to do much hunting these days?
I haven't hunted much. I haven't. It's not since I've been home. I used to. I grew up hunting. And we've got a farm in Kentucky, and so I grew up there hunting with my whole life. And I haven't hunted a ton since I've been home. I killed a nilgai down on the King Ranch.
Oh wow, that's a big animal.
Yeah,
That's an elk-sized animal.
it's like a horse with horns.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Apparently, unbelievably delicious. That's what I hear.
Yeah, beautiful. It's a beautiful animal. I killed a bear up in Alaska. I've killed some deer since I've been home. On the farm. But
You killed a black bear?
I killed a black bear.
Yeah, they're delicious too.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, right?
Yeah.
People don't know.
Yeah, they taste good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That King Ranch is crazy. How many acres is that thing?
I think it's almost 1 million. Right. It's almost. I think that's what it is. Right. I think it's almost 1 million.
Texas is so strange.
I think it's like. I think it's almost 1 million acres. I think it's like the largest land.
1.225.
Yeah. Yeah. And the crazy thing is like you're talking about. I got so fired up because, I come from a farm and the deer there. It's not like they're not. We don't feed them. We don't grow deer there, right?
Right.
And so you're driving out, and literally you're getting out to open the gate, leaving the King Ranch, and you look over to your right, 10 feet off the road, and there's a non-typical, huge deer right there, and you're
Yeah.
like, I'd give anything to have that on my wall.
Yeah, but it's a weird thing, right? Because they do feed them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's almost like agriculture.
Yeah, they put out food plots and stuff like that, and
Food plots make sense. That's just plants
Yeah.
that the animals eat. But feeders,
Oh, feeders, yeah.
that's where I draw the line. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, what are we doing here? Is this agriculture or is this hunting?
Is
And
it
even if
killing or
it's-
hunting?
Even if it's 1 million acres, if it's 1 million acres in every, 800, 900 yards, you have a feeder and all the animals gather on the feeder, so you got a blind that you hang out by the feeder.
Yeah, that's
What
a
is
Neil
this,
guy.
the King Ranch?
That's a Neil guy.
That's a Neil guy.
Yeah,
How good were those things?
they were good.
I hear they're better than elk.
It was really good.
I hear it's insanely delicious.
Oh, it was so good. I've never had elk, but
I
it's
could
good.
take care of that. How long are you in town for?
I leave out tonight.
Oh, well, I'll give you some in a freezer bag. You
Yeah,
can bring it home with you.
They were, so the thing about them is when you see them, they're running.
Uh-huh.
Like
as soon as, yeah.
as soon as
Well, they used to be around lions. That's what's so crazy about Texas. Like they take all these African animals. Like you can hunt a fucking zebra in Texas.
Yep,
Like,
zebra.
What?
yeah.
Zebra? What? Why is there a zebra here? And the zebras get out too. That's what's really fucked up. They keep them in these high fence ranches, but those fences break, and then you got zebras just running around.
Running around. Yeah, I got a buddy who has a farm who has elk, down in Texas. He's got elk on
Yes.
his farm because they got out. They just
Yeah.
came down the river.
Well, that's a real common thing in West Texas now.
Yeah.
is elk. There's quite a few of them, and you look at some of the ranges where they where they hunt them, and it looks like you might as well be in Colorado or something
Yeah.
like that. It's weird.
Yeah. And I got a buddy who he has giraffes on his farm. 2 giraffes.
What is he doing with them?
They're just there just to go. You can go feed the giraffes.
I had a bit in my act a couple years ago in my Triggered Netflix special, Triggered, about Texas and about how there's more tigers in captivity in Texas
Oh, wow.
than in all of the wild of the world.
Really?
Yep. More tigers
That's
in
crazy.
dudes' backyards, in private collections.
That's crazy.
There's more tigers in Texas
Yeah.
than all of the wild of the world.
So these giraffes, I think the story behind them and I don't quote me on it, but I think the story behind them is like the zoos couldn't afford to feed them anymore, and so they brought them in and let them run.
Oh,
and so
okay.
they feed them like it wasn't,
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like the zoos. I guess they couldn't afford to keep up with them or something.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just something oddly perverse about bringing animals that are not supposed to be at a
Oh, of
certain
course.
place to a certain place. You got something, Jamie? What do you got? In Texas, it's easier to own a tiger than a dog. Than a dog that's been labeled dangerous. It's estimated there could be from 2,000 to
What?
5,000 tigers living in the southern state of the United States, meaning Texas could have more tigers than roughly the 3,800 tigers living in the wild globally. If you have a dog that's dangerous, people think you're an asshole. If you got a tiger, like, oh, you're just in the wildlife.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That is such a fucked up thing to have in your yard. You got a fucking tiger? How much do you trust your fences? I mean, what kind of fence control do they have? They have fence regulations?
Surely they have to, right?
I don't know, man. It's pretty nuts. But there's a lot of them. A lot of them there. And again, there's in so many people's backyard. No one really knows how many tigers there are. Some people put the United States tiger population around 7,000. Others say it's inflated by animal welfare activists to raise money.
See,
Oh, of course.
that's what it is.
Of course,
That's what it is.
That's what they would think.
Making money.
There's a lot of them there, though, man. I know a bunch of people that have seen tigers in people's yards in Texas. And in fact, there was a crazy story about these kids were smoking weed. And they went into this abandoned house, and they go into the abandoned house, and inside the abandoned house is a tiger in a cage. And they're like, wait, what?
What?
So they walk into this fucking abandoned house trying to get high, and they find a tiger.
That's almost like The Hangover, right?
Yes, really
The
similar.
Hangover.
Yeah, I mean, did you find that story? Yeah, it's a fucking crazy story. These kids are just trying to smoke a little weed, escape from life. Tiger found in abandoned house by person who just wanted to smoke pot.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's tiger, baby. That's tigers in Texas.
That's so awesome.
So listen, man. It's been an honor having you on,
No, I
and a
appreciate you having
privilege.
me.
I'm glad
Thank
we
you.
finally got a chance to
Yeah.
do it. And let's get you out. I want to get you out with John Dudley. Take
do
you
it.
out on one of these hunts that we do. It'd be great.
I'd love to do some hunting.
Let everybody know if you have social media.
I do.
What is your?
I'm on Instagram, Dakota Meyer 0317. I'm on Facebook, Dakota Meyer. So yeah.
And all of the information about all these things that you're involved with
everything's
is all there.
Absolutely, all of it's there.
Beautiful. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks so much,
for being
man.
here.
Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.